Hello, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to another edition of Small Talk. Gonna be joined by my friend Blaque Alex here momentarily. Let's see if we could get him on. Hello, Des. How are you, buddy? What's up, man? How you been? Hope everyone's hanging in there. What's up, Tommy? How you doing? I'm alright, man. It's fucking crazy couple of days we've had here. Living? Yeah, that's good. I saw your devil video before. That was nice. You look good with horns. How you doing, Tom? When are we gonna get our new group together that goes after commercial placements like our good friend Dave? Oh, it wasn't you. Yes, it was Satan, of course. But of course, let's see if I could get him again. Mr. Alex, where art thou? This is probably very interesting watching me do nothing. There he goes. Hey, man. Yo, what's up, man?
What up, bro?
How you doing, man? Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing all right.
Yeah. I have a lot that I want to get to here, and I took your whole album in, and it's fucking crazy and awesome. So we're gonna get to all that, but I feel like it would be inappropriate to not just kind of ask, like, how are you feeling spiritually with everything that went on yesterday? I did a podcast with my brother last night for another show, completely unrelated, and we spent like the first half hour talking about what happened yesterday, because again, it just feels kind of inappropriate to not make mention of it. So just wanted to see how you're doing with everything.
I mean, emotionally, I'm fine. You
Right.
know, I think this is different for me personally than what happened over the summer,
Right.
for obvious reasons. But yeah, dude, it's hard for me to know how to feel about it per se, but it's pretty clear that we're reaching a point in our history where I think we're going to be tested in ways that normally we're watching other countries be tested. So, I mean, I guess if anything, I'm anxious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got maybe saying I'm okay completely the truth. I am anxious because that was a major deal, man. That was unprecedented.
I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I was saying last night, I mean, obviously we're on the East Coast, so we remember things in a little bit of a different way. Like 9/11 was a little more real for us than other people.
Right.
Hurricane Sandy, for instance, was, when people might hear that and be really a hurricane, but it was a big fucking deal, especially for where we're from.
Oh yeah.
But aside from 9/11, I can't remember, just optically speaking, something that was kind of like more disturbing. It was kind of up there for me, just to see the Capitol building being swarmed. It was like, what in the fuck is going on?
But you know what? I can't overlook the fact that it's who did it.
Yeah.
That plays a role into how some of us, approximately half of the country, is viewing this thing.
Yeah.
If this had happened in the wake of George Floyd, maybe we'd be hyped. Maybe we'd be like, yo,
Right.
yes, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like our opposition that has done
Yes.
it. And I use that very loosely. But we're, you know, it's through the lens of this ideology that we disagree with. But
Yeah. And there's also the factor of sort of like the police response where, you know, there's countless examples out there of how they were dealing with Black Lives Matter protesters compared to how they're, you know, escorting people by hand out yesterday, or even worse, letting them in through and, you know, taking selfies with them. Now, I saw a bunch of footage of police, like, where I was like, shit, man, I wouldn't want to be in their position. Like, I saw like a bunch of 1-on-50s and shit like that, which that's
right.
just from a human level, that's fucking scary.
Sure.
But like, kind of going on the macro in terms of the response, I think that's also, I mean, it's hard to argue at this point. I mean, how are you going to make an argument that the response was different for these folks as compared to how it would have been for Black Lives Matter and how it was for Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, man. I mean, the hypocrisy is evident. The privilege is real. But bro, we know what time it is. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We like it upset me a little bit. I mean,
Right.
I in the primal reaction and the fact that people were speaking on that aspect of things, but it's like if we're woke, then we got to stop reacting to things like we're still dreaming. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like we know what time it is, and as a black man, I mean, not everyone in the black community has taken it the way I take it,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, it's kind of like it's beating a dead horse.
At this point, right? I mean,
At this point, it's like I hate to put it this way, but it's like it's theory,
mm-hmm.
the outrage on that. You know what I mean? Like we had a long summer of this conversation, and
right.
black people rarely get that moment.
Right.
And I thought maybe I was shocked that people were shocked. I'll put it that way. I was shocked that people were shocked because, like I said, man, we know what it is. This dates back to the beginning of things in America, and it hasn't changed. That's what this whole summer was about with the protests and the conversation that was happening. And, you know, so it wasn't what I wanted to focus on. I even critiqued the fact that people were saying that so much on Facebook, which I don't know how people took me saying that. But, like, as a black person, we know what time it is, man. You know?
From the election standpoint, what I worry about is the precedent that it sets where, okay, so every time you lose now, it's just fraud. Like it's just a rigged election because you lost. Like, are we going to get back to a place where elections are thought of as legitimate, or is this now like, shit, man, you can't get this fucking cat back in the bag? That's another thing that's fucking.
Yeah, I mean, if we keep going down this cult of personality sort of trail that we're going on, where you know we need these demagogues to like battle each other. What was one of the main things people were saying about Bernie Sanders?
Mm-hmm.
The only one who could beat Trump. He's the only one who could beat Trump because he's really the only one who had a base that fired up.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the thing that I think we're going to have to watch out. How are we going to be viewing our politicians going forward? Are we going to be like just view people who are public servants? Or are we going to elevate them to this level of demagogue? You know, because you know, the QAnon dudes, they're like Trump is he's an idol to them.
I mean, he's literally like to them, he's the guy who's saving the world, quite literally.
Right.
You know, he's a superhero.
Right. And you know what? And on that point, that's also why I feel like, all right, we can make comments about about white privilege right now, but at the end of the day, like I feel like those events yesterday were a direct result of this conspiracy theory that's been going around about the elite and how Trump is the one that's here to overthrow. You know what I mean? The fact that he lost, like you have to really understand that these people feel like they've literally lost their position in their own country. And they feel like it's going to be this perpetual state losing rights until we end up in a communist society and pedophiles rule the world.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's where the misinformation and the sort of downsizing of the media into these like for-profit, you know, systems that are dueling with each other. It's like shit, man, like the fucking check came yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. Like you guys were, they were running up this crazy bill with all this fucking hype machine, and you see where it gets you. You see, you got fucking armed people running into the Capitol, and yeah, just like I said, I felt like it should. I don't want to spend the whole episode on this, obviously, but I felt like it's something that. No, I know. So, all right. Well, we got that out of the way. So, like I said, man, you know, this whole year was kind of a wash. So we couldn't meet each other. I'm not sure if we've met in person. We've probably been in the same at the same parties.
This is like the first time we're talking face to face, and we've been like fans of each other for years.
I know. It's funny how social media kind of is like that now. It's like I feel like we're friends. I mean, we are friends, but it is funny just how that is. But
right.
I think the first time I heard your music as far as hip hop goes is through Hugo, who I know is obviously a really good friend of both of ours, and he's on this album. I think at least a couple times. I think I saw.
Yep.
But one of the first beats I heard you rapping on was the Cardi B Money beat. Dude, that because you were doing a series of these freestyles, and I was like, Hugo was already kind of telling me that you guys were working together and stuff. I might have heard of something. I can't remember, but I remember when I started seeing those freestyle videos, and the Money beat one was fucking crazy. And that's when I was like, this guy is not fucking around. I'm sure you've talked about this a bunch, but I want to get into the new album, but could we just kind of touch on like the transition from being a band guy and then going into the solo thing, like how that kind of came to fruition for you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I was a drummer, and I was playing in bands since I was like 20. Got serious about it when I was 22, and from 2008, 9 till 2018, I played in several bands. My last band was Nonstop to Cairo. My decision to leave the band when I did was more based on the fact that I was sober at the time.
Yeah.
And Nonstop did it. But I think over the years, man, I was just like really creatively unfulfilled as a drummer. Not to say that the drums are an unfulfilling position. I enjoyed it for years. I still enjoy it when I play it. But I just have more to say.
Yeah.
I have more to do. I'm very self-aware, and I understand that my ego is quite sizable. So I felt very constricted to the back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's where I got my education.
Exactly.
The only reason I can make the music I do now and attack things and approach things the way I do and be as productive is because I got exposed to all these other great musicians.
Right.
You know? But yeah, man, I felt like it would be like, I just felt like I'd be proud of myself to make that move. Because like, in the music business, you're trying to succeed, and it's very hard to succeed. And as the years fall off the calendar, you can be discouraged. So I felt like, to be bold and take a bigger risk after all these years of, failure.
Right.
Is something that I really be, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I was trying to prove something to myself in a sense, and I had a strong hunch that I could do this. So I started, then I got out of rehab, left the band, took about a year and just wrote raps, wrote beats, you know what I'm saying? And just worked on a bunch of songs. And then at the beginning of 2019, I said, all right, here's some raps.
Right. Now you just kind of touched on it, so I'm assuming that you're somewhat comfortable at least talking about it. What's up, Uncle Mike? How are you, buddy? I still call you Uncle Mike. I hope that's okay. That's another story for another time.
What's up, Uncle Mike?
So I mean, can you kind of share, like, are you comfortable talking with that? I know that
yeah.
obviously,
I put it all out there anyway.
What I know. No, I know that, so that's why I feel like it's okay. But I just want to check.
Yeah.
Me personally, I just hit 7 months without alcohol. So
Yeah, what
I'm
up,
kind of
boys?
on that train too. Um,
Yeah, my sister.
but yeah. So what was your experience with like in terms of getting sober?
Um, I mean, it had to happen, and it took like a series of it's just complicated situations where I acted out for me to realize it. Um, the person I was dating at the time was actually the first person to ever get my attention that might have a problem, and of course I like resisted it for a long time. Then it just got to the point where it had to happen. I actually checked myself in on New Year's Eve, 2 days into 2018. I checked myself in for a psychiatric evaluation because I knew I was exhausted and I knew that trauma from unresolved traumas. So I knew I had to like get a grip on my emotional state, and so I checked myself in to be to psychiatric unit just see what it would be, and from there they suggested I go to rehab. In my experience, though, the whole sobriety thing, the whole recovery thing, it's like super dope, super difficult, but
Yeah.
super dope. You know what I mean? And I guess I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it was easy to commit to it because first of all, I wanted to do it. Um, it was one part of many transitions I was making. I started making my own rap music. You know, I got diagnosed bipolar and I got diagnosed with insomnia. So I was on medication for that and I wasn't drinking anymore. So I really did feel like a new man. And I liked that because the year before I felt like an old man. I felt like a man who was like around. So I I found it very easy to avoid bars. I found it very easy to avoid just situations where there were drugs. Very easy to communicate with my friends about it. And then it was just a matter of getting my spirituality in order so that I could like walk that path. You know?
In terms of your vice, we're talking about alcohol primarily.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Me too. Yeah. No, I listen. I commend you for taking action on it. One of the things that was interesting for me getting sober this year, and I kind of tread lightly by calling myself sober. I'm currently sober. You know, like if I go back to drinking, I don't want people to have a fucking, freak out about it.
Sure.
But was the fact that there was no going to bars this year anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I almost wonder, in a sense, like, would I have been able to do this in regular times? I honestly don't know the answer to that. I
It
think,
would have been harder.
right,
I mean, that's why I separated myself from the band
right,
because I know, like, first of all, I didn't want to hold them back from having a good time. They don't have a problem like I do, you know.
right.
And secondly, man, I didn't want to be tempted, man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I kind of left nonstop, like, I kind of quarantined myself socially,
Yeah,
sense, but it was fine because I was starting fresh. There was no reason for me to be at a bar.
right,
You know, anyone I wanted to talk to, I could call,
right.
and it made it so much simpler. So I relate in that way, where you kind of the circumstances just lend themselves to the situation.
Exactly. Now you had some touring experiences with Nonstop to Cairo, right?
Yeah,
What were those like? Anything stand out or
I mean,
any
man, boys being boys, man. You know,
yeah, yeah.
just boys being boys. Yeah, we got stories, moments.
Yeah, I hear you.
um, yeah, dog, that shit was fun. Well, can I curse? Yeah, I can curse. This is Instagram, right?
Curse away.
All right, shit, fuck ass, cunt, pussy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, it was fun. It was, but it's like touring is one of those things where people confuse it with traveling.
Yes,
Like
exactly. Exactly.
it's not traveling, it's work. You know,
100%.
so as great as it is and as fun as it is, it's always like it's this cycle of like binge and purge, right? Like you save a
Yep.
bunch of money, you go on tour, lose it all, and then you come back and start
Gone.
over.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's relative to everyone's different financial situation. I know touring was always difficult for me.
Of course. Yeah.
I was broke. You know.
It's a financial drain, and it's also generally, I mean, like, you're fucking tired as a motherfucker because there's
Yeah.
no real rest. Like, you're worried about where you're gonna stay. You're worried about, driving to the next fucking gig. It's crazy. For people that don't have that experience, or rather for people that do have that experience, there's some kind of kinship that's always going to be there because it's like, the road, like it's just the road. Like
Yeah.
if you've experienced it, you know how crazy it is.
Yeah.
But that let's get back to more kind of like present times. I love the ins and outs of like band life and touring, so I wanted to touch on that. But yeah, man, this album, like I said, it's fucking awesome. This would be like my favorite intro to an album that I've heard in a very long time. It's just like, hey, by the way, like, and there's a lot of like awesome shit throughout. There's a lot of features, so I'm curious as to like, how did that go? Are these people that you've known for a while, reached out to, or like, how did that go? Because I feel like a lot of times, it's one thing to have features, but I feel like there was, especially on that kind of posse cut, like LI 95,
Yeah.
it feels like it's not just a feature, like it's a real, you made something together.
Right. Yeah. It's our song.
Right.
All right. So it's funny. The album title is "This Ain't My Album Volume 2," right?
Right.
So there's clearly a Volume 1, but Volume 1 was the mixtape I put out before my actual album came out. So it was literally like, this ain't my album, this mixtape.
Right.
But then when I wanted to put this one out and started asking people to join it, and then I was like, damn, I got like 14 people on here. Then I was like, oh, this ain't my album.
I get it. Yeah, that's funny.
But bro, Supernatural, man.
Yeah.
Supernatural. Yeah, and everyone on there I know. And I got family members on there. I got music from the reggae rock scene, music from artists from the hip hop scene, singers. I just wanted to it didn't dawn on me that I wanted features till like 2 weeks before I put it out, and I was like me and Hugo and Sketch had all this music, and it was just kind of songs that were just whatever. And at night I would like make different playlists of some of my songs to see like, oh, is this a record? Can I put this out? Can I put this out?
Right.
And so I did the sequencing for the stew, which changed like 20 times.
Of course.
And then I realized, I was like, okay, well, I put out 3 albums this year. I don't know if I want to put out another just me, like all over the place. And I want an excuse to put out all these songs. So then I started reaching out to people, and first I did Iconic with Jesse, Augie, and my brother, Aranaya. And I really liked that. I really liked how smooth it was. So I just wanted to keep that going. LI 95, that was a beat that Sketch sent to me like maybe a year ago. And then I was on Instagram one day. Jesse had made a freestyle to that beat, so I guess he sent it to us both. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, he already has a verse, and maybe I'll do a verse. And maybe I was thinking about getting just like one other person. And then I was like, well, maybe let me ask Nikki, let me ask Austin, let me ask Fame, see what they would want to do. And they were able to get the verse in time. So
that's awesome.
How it is, Tina, I was just always a fan of, like, just watching her killing it. I love her songs, love Tina live. Just thought it would be cool. I actually wanted Cass House, man. I reached out to Cass House too. I was like, yo, but this was like super last minute. Like Tina did her joint like 5 days before the album came out,
That's crazy.
Or I asked her 5 days before it came out. She sent it to me like maybe 2 days before I sent it to DistroKid. So it was crazy. I love that kind of just go kind of flow, workflow, like,
dude,
it's the total opposite of what I come from.
Yeah, I just had an experience with Gamblers with that, where like we got hit up. We had planned this like live at Patchogue Theater thing for a while. We were working on it, and then my friend was like, "Yo, I'm doing this Christmas thing. Like, you guys want to be a part of it?" And we fucking had nothing. We just went into the studio. We did like 2 quick Christmas covers. We shot these 2 like crazy ass videos, like super lo-fi. But you know what? It's like fun to do shit like that once in a while. And also, there's something about that pace, and like you're saying, just fucking go for it. That shit comes out that it wouldn't have happened if your back wasn't up against the wall, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's awesome. how about like in terms of what's your approach with video content? I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, you have worked with Hugo, I know, at least on one of those, which
Yeah.
is sick. What's your kind of what's your thought on that? Because as you know, like everything, obviously there was basically no shows, there's a couple things here and there, but everything kind of came down to like online content, or for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So what's your kind of approach as far as that goes?
Are we talking music videos?
Yeah, or just like, I know that the question was convoluted, like music videos, but also sort of like this new era that we're in terms of like rate of content that comes out. Because you've been keeping up with it, you've been going like super ham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you kind of, is it the same spirit of just go go go, like pedal to
Go,
the metal?
go, go,
Yeah.
go, go. See, I come from like obviously being in bands, and being in bands is just a different process, a lot more involved.
So
You're
long.
building relationships with people. Yeah, it just takes longer.
Yep.
So when I got my music out, I just like simplified my process to like the naive level of
Right.
I'm just gonna put content out and see what happens.
Right.
Like, like I didn't want to spend too much time overthinking, because I figured like, well, it's not like when you're in a band, if you make a move, it affects everyone else.
Yeah,
You have
exactly.
to be mindful of that. And I was like, all right, well now I have to only answer to myself. So if I make a mistake, it's like I have to deal with it.
Right.
Um, so I just started throwing shit to the wall, so to speak, and see. People like the freestyles. That's why I kept doing it.
Mm.
I started doing I do my own show flyer, video. I mean, I don't care. To me, Blaque Alex is a multimedia company.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I'm not a rapper, I'm not anything. I'm a multimedia company. So anything associated with me, content wise, is Blaque Alex content. I'm on Facebook having a debate. That's Blaque Alex content. And I have to consider it such because every content, every piece of content that I put out affects my brand, for better or worse.
Right.
Right. And I'm gonna use that word brand. I know, we're artists and we don't.
I get it, man. I get it. I get it.
So it all affects my brand. If I face backlash from something I said, that affects my brand. If I lose followers because I'm not consistent, that affects my brand. So it's all the same thing.
Right.
But I totally embrace the 20% model of a lot of content. At least at this phase, like I was actually talking to my brother earlier about a different strategy going into 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, my philosophy is nothing wants to stand in front of anything that's relentless. So if you're just consistent, that's like half the battle.
Now, in terms of, it's funny because the parallel for me anyway is again with Gamblers. We were sort of more of a democratic, true band. And then what ended up happening was the original lineup fell apart. I've told that story a million times. I won't bore you with that. But the fact of the matter is, it almost it's not a solo project because it's still very collaborative from a music perspective. But in terms of decision making, it essentially became a solo project where I can just I do whatever the hell I want, and I don't have to sort of run it by a committee. And that goes to the whole bands being slow thing. People don't understand. I mean, when you're dealing with 4 or 5 guys, I mean, it's insane to try to get anything done. So in a lot of ways, I actually came from the band world initially, and then I got into hip hop from the production standpoint. And I was really flying solo, and I could control my pace of output. And I kind of took that mentality into Gamblers once the democratic, original band fell apart. And is it a coincidence that last year was our most successful year? Probably not. I mean, because I was able to, I don't need to overthink. Boom, let's do it. Obviously a lot came up to that point. I'm not downplaying anyone's previous involvement. I'm just saying from what you're describing of being able to, you're more free in that sense.
You can't argue with the mix of it,
Exactly. Taking a bit of a left turn here. Well, before we go there, you mentioned like trying to take a new process for 2021, something that I'm always interested in hearing about. Do you have you mentioned your brother? I know you're working with the guys that you've mentioned, but do you have sort of like a team around Blaque Alex in terms of, and if you don't, maybe the question is, are you aiming to kind of put a team together as far as management, label, all that kind of BS? Or or is it truly like headquarters is you sort of deal?
I mean, it's all me right now.
Right.
Um, I've had experience with managers, PR people, hiring people, paying guys $100 a month to do a job. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not on my mind at all.
Are you referring to Nonstop to Cairo, or maybe like a band experience where you've had a PR person or something like that? You mean like
Yeah, we have one in Nonstop.
right?
Uh, I mean, it's good. It's good when it's good.
Yeah.
And when it's not good, it just feels like you're burning money.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But shout out to everyone who's helped me in my career.
Right.
But I'm at a point where I don't know, man. I'm trying to skim the fat of the process. I'm really questioning what's necessary. Like, do I need a manager to, I mean, what would I need a manager for at this point? Because I don't have enough of a fan base for anyone at the higher level to take me seriously. I don't have a lot of income to pay a manager or a PR person. As far as marketing goes, I mean, even the big experts in the world are just testing shit all the time.
It's
So
true.
it's
True.
like, what do I need it for?
No, I agree. I totally hear you. I mean, as far as like, and again, with gamblers, it's kind of the same way. I sort of had a faulty philosophy in the past where I was kind of hyper obsessed with putting all those pieces together. And it's just funny again, because the second that I kind of was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Like, we're hitting the fucking gas pedal and we'll see who the fuck sticks around. That's the moment everything turned around for us. So it's just like, it's the most obvious lesson in the world, which is take ownership over your own shit. And, but anyway, yeah, I think you have the right idea. I mean, if a manager type is going to be like, hey, listen, this is what I project your potential income to be, and therefore I want to work with you on a percentage basis based off of the future, that'd be one thing. And they're going to open up certain doors that you can't necessarily open up on your own now. That's
Right.
one discussion. But I'm totally with you as far as, getting shit off the ground. Yeah, I definitely have a similar philosophy. I'll be transparent. Gamblers does have people that help and hired help and all that. I'm trying to act like I don't. But sometimes it's funny because you could do more on your own. And I'm not bad mouthing anyone, but I can't tell you how many times we've had a publicist and whatever we get that's like good
Right.
is from me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the thing with publicists specifically, what I never realized about it until I started working with them is you pay them to work. You don't pay them for results. Like,
That's a fact.
their
There's
salary, you're paying them so that they'll be on the clock for you.
exactly.
How I make every decision now essentially is, will this connect with people? It'll make sense to join up with a manager and build a team when it's going to lead to more connections, because there's nothing that you can do to guarantee that people will connect. And this is why I dismissed music videos, certain levels of production, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, man, it's like connecting with people is where it's at. Like, when I picked up that iPhone and rapped through it, I had more connections with people that way than even being published in Afropunk.
I know.
Like more people fucked with me and was like encouraging me to keep going and wanted to do more. I connected with them. That's the key. There's a certain level you can get to, I think, where it makes sense to start moving, because it's like, okay, people love, like just speaking for myself, if I get to a certain level, it's like, okay, people are loving what I'm doing. So now if I invest $3,000-$4,000 into a music video, it'll make sense. because now
Right.
these people that I've connected with that want to see me win are gonna take that shit and fucking help me get it out there.
Yeah.
And that's when I dropped the stew. I feel like the past 2 years of dropping consistent content, first of all, the respect of people and where I could reach out to them and say, hey, you want to do this thing for free with me? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah. But also, I think I earned the trust of my audience.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, this dude's just like doing his thing. We believe in this guy. I'm going to share his album. I'm going to share it. People were sharing it. I was so happy, dude. You know? And it cost me nothing in terms of hiring a team. You know, it was literally just me doing everything I can, not making any as far as like just getting it out there, getting it done. You know.
I think you have the spot on idea, which is that you're sort of, you know, and again, to use the term brand, which is sort of a controversial term when you're talking about art, but for the sake of conversation, you're building trust within that name and within the, you know, product, for lack of a better term, that you're going to be providing. So to your point, when it does make sense to inject funds into a particular thing, you're not just going to be blasting it out into the fucking ocean, you know,
Yeah.
of nothingness. You have people that are sort of invested emotionally, and you know they
Right.
already know. So you're spot on with that, man.
Because you know, real quick, I feel like a
Yeah.
mistake that we make as artists is
Right.
we try to come out, we try to make our debut as rock stars, and
100%.
the industry tells us that that's the way to do it, and there's wisdom to it, of course. Like especially in the social media age, people are probably going to look at a high quality video before they look at a low quality. We should invest in
Right.
that, right? That's smart. But we kill ourselves essentially purchasing our own art and then putting it out there because it doesn't make money for a lot of us. And we put it out there in hopes that it's going to connect. But at the end of the day, man, like social media has given us a platform to connect directly with people. And before we establish that, I really don't think it makes sense to dress it up beyond your means. You know,
It's you're 100% right. And I mean, like, there's someone I'm friends with on Facebook, and he runs a weight loss YouTube channel. And I mean, you know, there's some production value, but not really. I mean, you could tell he's shooting it on his phone. It's basically his journey of trying to lose weight. That motherfucker has like 200 comments on every fucking video. You know what I mean? Like, the interaction is off the charts. Whereas, like, I'll drop a video that's a higher production value, and at least on like my social media or something, I'll get my friends and family and they're commenting and stuff like that. But it's funny, sometimes you'll see crazy engagement on something and why is that? It's because they're hitting a nerve, they're connecting with people. I mean, like, you know, to go back to the first video I saw of you, which was on the money beat, I think you were talking about like not alimony or like child payments or something. And I was like, yo, like, you know, because it's just like, you know, I mean, that's the shit that people are gonna. You took the topic of money and you flipped it in a way that's super relatable for guys in their 30s or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah. And I didn't know I was doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to flip that idea on its head and just give it a different twist. You know, where it starts out, and you think I'm just gonna like talk about balling, and then it's like, kind of sucks.
And then it makes you, like, to me, it made me realize, like, yo, this beat is like super tough. You know what I mean? Because you're hearing it in a different context, and it just sounds like the most menacing shit you've ever heard, and then you're spitting like shit about real life, and you're like, whoa, that was some crazy shit. But yeah, man. As far as like the future goes, like, what's the you know, game plan? Sounds like kind of a stupid way of phrasing it, but what's the next couple of moves? Like, are you kind of just pounding the pavement, or do you have another project coming? You just dropped the, you know, you know, the level of work that clearly went into the stew. It sounded pretty overwhelming, just especially when you know, you're billing it as a mixtape, not even your album. But a lot of my favorite shit is mixtapes anyway. Like some of my favorite releases from
yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
But,
Well, me too, man. I feel like a mixtape is where people get wild. That's where you really like. I really got to know Lil Wayne listening to the
of
mix.
course, yeah.
You know, like the
Exactly.
single commercial stuff. Cool. It was brilliant, but it was the mixtapes. That's where we all fell in love. You know, and I love that. I love that rap has that element to it. You know, because it's like if you just dropped an album and you want to drop something else, just call it a mixtape. Like it's totally fine.
Because there's no rules with mixtapes too. Like you could sample whatever the fuck. Like you
Yeah.
flip the Lauryn Hill song. You don't have to worry about samples if you're just putting it out. Like, are you familiar with Skepta by any chance from the UK? Yeah, like he put out his album, like which he ended up putting some of the big mixtape songs on his album anyway. But dude, I mean, there's like a Pharrell beat on there. It's like an album. Like, okay, here's the Pharrell beat. Here's
Yeah.
and like his mixtape he put out like a year before that is, I'll listen to that every single day of the week before the album.
Okay, like that is a great illustration of exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Because the mixtape connects with people because it's just meant to connect with people. It's just an
Right.
art being an artist.
Exactly.
They're not trying to worry about writing a hit. But then as soon as they think, I got to write a hit, I got to be a rock star, okay, I'm going to hire Pharrell. Maybe that will lead to connection. But it doesn't guarantee it, man. Sometimes lightning strikes. Like we talked about that 2007 run that led to the Carter 3, unfucking believable. And he topped it off with this like $1 million seller in a week. That's not always how it goes down.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times people like that happened to J. Cole. He was putting out mixtapes. His fans loved him on the mixtapes. By the time he dropped his first, he overthought it so much that they kind of rebuked him for it. It still sold because he made hits, but like his core base was like, dog, what happened? And they didn't get it right for 2 hours to the point where his fans were like, all right, now you're back to the real J. Cole, and now he is who he is now, And he talks about overthinking this idea of fame and stardom and being cool and being accepted. And when he just like let it go, let his hair grow out, took the chains off, and just decided to be real. And he's one of my biggest inspirations.
There's got to be so much pressure too, like.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's
hip hop has a lot of pressure. I'm gonna say this: hip hop has the most pressure of any genre. Probably outside of like jazz, right? Like in jazz, you got to be really good,
right.
But that takes like work and hard work and talent. Hip hop, man, there's so many superficial elements attached to coolness that it's like it can make your head spin. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So for the fact that he took that, now that I'm kind of in pursuit of it, I totally get it.
Let's have some fun here. I want to ask you the controversial question of, and we could go no particular order, but let me hear a top 5 if you have
one. I mean, right now at this hour,
sure.
8:45 p.m.
Right.
I'm gonna say Jay-Z, Ghostface, J. Cole, you said 5. I mean, I'm trying to avoid the generic ones. I mean, I do love these people.
Yeah, no, I mean, your 5 is your 5,
Yeah, I mean, Nas, Kendrick. That was probably 6.
Solid. What's your favorite Kendrick album?
Good Kid, Mad City. To Pimp a Butterfly was in there for a while, but on Good Kid, Mad City, man, I feel like he really fucking nailed it. Like he made something super commercial, super artistic, super visionary, super hard to replicate, and poppy, accessible. To Pimp a Butterfly, very avant-garde. I can see why people didn't get it. And then Damn was definitely just more like, all right, here's just an album of hits. Y'all need a break from all that dense shit.
I feel like I probably put To Pimp a Butterfly slightly ahead of Good Kid, Mad City, but that's only because, I mean, when Good Kid came out, it blew my fucking mind. But then when To Pimp a Butterfly came out, I was like, I can't believe he did it, but he topped it. I don't know how. And then I'll be honest with Damn, I feel like it was a little bit rushed in terms of like, I wish he would have waited like maybe one more year and got like a couple, because it felt like, it just didn't feel like the impact was the same. And again, it'd be so hard to, I was surprised he had another album that was almost as good as Good Kid.
Right.
But, you know.
I've heard, someone told me that Kendrick actually said that he had Damn ready to go already while he was making Pimp a Butterfly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he knew just from how people were going to interpret it, he knew that they were going to need a break, that really dense avant-garde thing. And so he knew people needed something to absorb that was more poppy. But I also think he just kind of wanted to. Oh, is that Billy Reimer? Wow. Holy shit.
What's up, Billy? How you doing, man?
What's up, man? He probably doesn't remember me. But yeah, man, I love that because it's smart. It's smart to think that way. Like he knew he just released these 2 really dense albums. Like you said, took it even more dense on Pimp a Butterfly, and then figured, all right, well, let me give something that's like a little more accessible, but also show these other contemporary rappers like, don't trip, I can do this too.
Right.
like just because I'm rapping on jazz beats doesn't mean I can't, throw down.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned Ghostface. What makes him your favorite member of Wu-Tang?
Ghostface has a way with abstraction that I find very appealing. I love things that you can't quite put your finger on. That's why I love funk music and I love funky people and just like, Ghostface, like when I heard Supreme Clientele,
yeah,
he was painting these mosaics that were like hard to follow, but I believed him and I felt like whatever he's saying is dope. So I remember like that was when I first started trying to rap. I was a freshman in high school. I was trying to write raps about like strawberry donuts. You know what I mean? Like vanilla skies and strawberry donuts. Like totally not understanding that he's talking street code and he's talking like some thorough shit, but he's just like packaging it in this way.
Yeah.
That's why I fuck with Ghost. Now, as far as he's my favorite rhymer, Method Man's my favorite member of Wu-Tang.
Okay.
Because I saw Method Man perform at Randall's Island when Rage Against the Machine came back.
I was there.
I
was there.
2007?
Yes, that was the.
Dude. Yo, I met literally like 100 people that were at that show throughout my life since that show.
Yo, no joke. First of all, I remember that was on the. That was our 2 things I remember was like the size of the Cypress Hill bong that they brought out, but also feeling like when Rage Against the Machine was on, like I was like, I might die.
I almost did. Bro,
yeah,
you remember?
Have you ever been in a crowd that insane and that packed before?
So let me ask you, did you go on Saturday when it was hot?
I don't remember.
Okay,
probably.
I remember it being so fucking hot that day, and they didn't have enough water, and I had bullied my way to the second row. I got there late. So it was hard work to get to the second row. I didn't want to lose that spot. So I'm sitting there all day, bro, and they're passing out these cups of water for everyone to share. Like everyone would take a sip and pass it on. I had smoked weed. I was super dehydrated.
Me too.
But I was holding out. And dude, that sequence of like Cypress Hill, Wu-Tang, Rage, I was like, oh man, like that was the best thing. But bro, by the time Rage came on, they did Testify, and I've never felt myself jumping at the same time with like 20 people. Like I could just tell no one was sitting still. Mm-hmm. And I was holding arms with these strangers, and we're just like, yo! Awesome, right? Dude, they did Bulls on Parade after that. Everyone started going so sick. I was so like dehydrated, so weak. I had to ask to be removed. I was like, yo, get me out of here, man. I regret it to this day. I should have stayed. But
dude,
yeah,
when Cypress Hill was on, I was so fucking high that I actually, my entire body, I was laying down like on the ground. Like I felt like I was being pulled into the ground.
Right.
Like not only could I not get up, but I was like sinking. It was like, And then yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
But dude, that particular crowd, that Rage Against the Machine crowd at that show, I for people that were there, I mean, that was like it's almost like you can't describe how insane it was. Um,
Yo, Darren, what up, bro?
what's up, Darren?
Yo, man. Yeah, no, I agree, bro. But that was the day I fell in love with Method Man as a performer. Because, man, he really just stood above and beyond. I was just impressed that he stood out amongst so many talented dudes.
Yeah.
Just his performance style was just very, like, he just went for it. You know, I remember him getting in the crowd at one point, and I was just looking, I was like, this man is doing what I want to do with my life, you know?
He's an amazing performer. I saw the blanking on the name of the tour, but the headliners were it was in DC at the 930 Club, and the headliners were Method Man and Currency.
Okay.
And fucking dude, Method Man fucking killed it, man. And like some people, he went on after Currency.
I was going to say, that seems kind of like, I wouldn't want to follow Meth if I had Currency's vibe.
But dude, believe it or not, like Currency was like super popping at that time, and some people left.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they let, and Method Man was like, "Are you fucking crazy? Like I'm Method Man." Like he was just like, "You guys are leaving? Like fuck you, motherfucker." And then he like had I think like DJ Mathematics, and he was just like he was like, "Yo, fuck that." And he was just had like the DJ going crazy, and he like jumped into the crowd and like started like fucking surfing it on the crowd.
Yeah,
And shit.
yeah.
Like he's a madman, but he's awesome. Honestly, my favorite solo Wu-Tang album though is ODB's first solo album.
Okay.
Because it's just like
That's the one that had the joint with Mariah that blew up?
I don't think that's on. I think that's on Mariah Carey's album. I don't think that's on an ODB album. I could be wrong. It's been quite a while, but
Yeah, honestly, I've never listened to that ODB album, to be honest. I
dude,
wasn't really
if you want to,
fan that so much. Like when I was younger,
He's-
like I felt like
yeah,
he scared me when I was younger.
yeah, of course,
You know?
he's a wild dude.
Yeah.
But that like just from an art perspective, like he was just on something. Like, well, he was on something, but like you know, he was on a lot of things probably. But he dude, that album is a fucking masterpiece. Like it's insane. But shout out to Wu-Tang.
You know, ODB like mastered the social media the era before it even came out. You know, like as far as
That's a good point.
staying in the headlines and always turning heads, like because you barely heard anything about dude's music as far as the media went. You know, it was always like, oh, this happened or that happened. I forget the stories. But actually, with Nonstop, my first show with Nonstop was opening for Fishbone at Gramercy Theater.
Oh, and, that's dope.
Yeah, it was a fire show. And ODB's son had mentioned that he wanted to cover a song, and he heard that there was going to be a band there, and he couldn't do it with Fishbone. So he was like, well, see if that other band will want to play with me. But I guess the terms was that, like, if we were good enough, if he saw that we were good enough, that he would do it with us. So we had prepared Shimmy Shimmy Ya.
Of course.
And, yeah. Then we had a good set, and, like, halfway through, he was like, all right, let's do it. And we were like, okay. It was cool, man.
Dude, he, not to kind of, like, be someone who's like, I also have a story about that guy. But I'm going to do that right now because for a while he was showing up. I feel like every SOB's show, like, he'd just show up and, like, try to get on stage. And one time, like, I was at a Static Selecta, like, release party show thing, and he was like, yo, can you talk to, like, he thought I was somebody who knew Static Selecta for whatever reason. And he was like, yo, can you tell him, like, that I want to go on? Like, can you tell him to, and he did go on, but he was doing that for a while. I think he is kind of troubled. Like, he's got some kind of complex going on about his dad.
Well, he's New York royalty.
For sure.
And, I feel like he knows that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know him personally. But just his swag the day that I met him, I was like, all right, this motherfucker knows he's ODB's son. You know?
He does. And
he was nice to me.
He looks just like him. Like, it's kind of alarming.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He even was styling his hair exactly like like ODB in the mid '90s. Yeah, yeah.
Which I love.
What?
I love that about him. I was just like, yeah, bro, hold it down for Pops. You know, I'm pretty sure he died when he was young. So
He did, dude. It's scary to think about it. He was only like 36, I think, like, or 34, something like real. Like when you're a kid, you think that's an adult, and I guess it is an adult. I guess we are adults, but like now we're
right.
around like in the realm of those ages, and it's just like shit. Like I don't want to go now.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
but
I'm allegedly an adult, like on paper.
exactly. Um, it's funny. I just did another Wu-Tang point. Like I remember getting into an argument with someone who was younger than us. Not an argument, but like they were just kind of talking about Odd Future. Like remember when Odd Future was having their big moment, and he was just like, "Yo, no one else has ever done what Odd Future's doing. They have their own clothing line." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude. You ever heard of fucking Wu Wear? Like, do you remember
Yeah.
Wu Wear? Like in the '90s? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
The
just
Wallaby.
take my word. Take my word for it. I'm older than you. Like, Wu Tang was doing this. Like, like, it's like I love these people that just think like, oh, I haven't heard about it, so it's never existed before. Like, come on, like,
Yeah.
have some respect.
Two things you can always bank on: the younger generation pedestalizes their moment, and the older generation disregards it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
bridging that gap is hard, but yeah, man. I mean, bro, that's like a rite of passage for rap groups. You know, Rockefeller, Bad Boy, the Rough Riders, Wu-Tang. Everyone does the clothing line shit. But I will say that as far as squads go, Odd Future probably had one of the biggest impacts on modern music. At least
sure. No question.
Tyler, Frank, and Earl. I know Earl kind of separated himself from the limelight, but Tyler's influence is undeniable. Like if you you're like in the streets, he's the king out here. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would certainly never take anything away from like what they've done. My only point was just like this guy that I was talking to was like trying to tell me that like the fact that they had a fashion line was like the craziest shit. I'm like, yeah, okay, I remember Wu Wear, like, but anyway, this has been awesome, man. Instagram's gonna cut us off in a couple of minutes, so I always like to end these a little bit before the hour mark, just so we don't get cut off.
Yeah.
But is there anything you want to like let people know about as far as what you have coming up, or what to look out for, where to find you on social media? We put out the tag today on the flyer, but
yeah. I mean, you can catch me here. I post most of my content on Instagram. I just put out an album called The Stew that is 14.
It's amazing. Go check that out.
Yeah, it's 14 new songs. It's all original. Producers from Long Island. Every artist is from Long Island. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep putting music out, bro. That's pretty much it. I don't have a message. I'm just gonna keep working.
And
but I love you all. I love everybody.
Well, you've been on a roll, man, and it's been inspiring to watch. And like I said, this new album is fucking incredible. I always put these up on YouTube, so people listening, I definitely recommend checking out This Ain't My Album Volume 2, The Stew. And yeah, man, just keep it up, man. Keep the pace of output has been insane, and like I said, totally inspiring to watch. So thanks for joining me here tonight, man, and I wish you the best, though. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro. Good talking.
Of course. Take care, man. Have a great night.
Peace, bro.
Later.